the channel, guys. Now today, as you can see from the thumbnail and the title of the video, I have a very nice Stam Nightblade PVP build here for you today. Now I just want to mention that last week my last video was blowing up. I've just hit 1,000 views in 1 week. That's brilliant and I'm extremely proud. I just want to say a quick thank you to everybody who's actually watching my videos and liking the content and engaging with me by commenting in the comment section. The link to my Discord is going to be down in the comment section and the description, so if you want to join, you want to chat, you want to maybe join us on some games, go for it. We're going to build up a community and we'll love to see you there. Now if you look at my character right now, he's looking very scary with his red eyes and his red chest and his very strangely coloured skin. He is a very scary one to look at. Now if you had this guy running at you in Imperial City, you'd be running the other way. But this is the build I'm running and I think you will all like it. It's a very tanky build, very hard hitting build, and I think you will all enjoy this a lot. Let's see if this one can blow up just as well as my last video. This isn't a toxic build, this is actually a different way to play Nightblade as compared to the usual sneak around everywhere, stab him in the back, have no chance of actually having fun kind of playstyle. This one involves you full frontal attacking just like a Stamina Dragon Knight, so let's see if you guys can actually have some fun with this build. Let's look at the stats first. Now the stats I think are pretty amazing for a Stamina Nightblade. We've got 25,000 health and 30,000 stamina. I don't even want to comment on the measly 12,000 magicka. That is one con to this build, but you'll see why it's not too big of a deal soon. All of our recoveries are above 1,000 except for stamina recovery, which is 1,766. Massive amount of stamina recovery, and that only goes up when we have a potion on. We've got 3.1k weapon damage and 20% weapon critical, but we're not really too focused on the critical side of this build. We just want to be hitting as hard as possible without relying on running squishy sets that make us hit that a little bit harder, because I'd actually prefer to stay alive. Our spell resistance is 17,000, our physical resistance is 16,000, and my critical resistance is 2,811, an average amount and an amount you can actually get by on. We're running 64 points into stamina. We are running the Artaeum Tegway Broth, we're using the Warrior Mundus, and we are an Orc. You can play things like Argonian for more sustain, you can play a Nord for even more resistances and health. You can also even play a Khajiit for more critical hit damage if you want to rearrange the way the build is set up. My personal way is not the only way you can run this setup, so you could run it in medium armor, bit of a tip there. If you want to be running medium armor, you'll be hitting it as hard as you possibly can, but I am running heavy armor, bit of a spoiler, do apologise. And that is why this build is incredibly tanky, and those resistances only go up because I'm running two very important abilities, and it ties in with the passives, as I will show you very soon, so stick around until the end of the video. If we just go into the inventory, I'm going to cover my gear now. We're running Clever Alchemist. Now for those of you who don't know, Clever Alchemist adds 1,200 max health, adds another 1,200 max health, adds 129 weapon and spell damage, and when you drink a potion during combat, you feel a rush of energy, increasing your weapon and spell damage by 675 for 20 seconds. Now if you ignore the fact that my character name is 360 No Scope Yeet, I think we can go back to the video and understand how strong this set is. 675 weapon and spell damage for 20 seconds just for popping a potion. This is incredibly strong, and it ties in with the passive as a Nightblade. You get 20 ultimate for using a potion, meaning you can use your incapacitating strike even more. Big tip, I'm using that. And it just hits like a truck. It's one of the must-haves for Nightblades right now. You could, in theory, swap it out for the new set Witch Knight's Defiance, which increases your damage done to poisoned enemies and adds more weapon damage bonuses. However, you're missing out on 2,400 health here, so it's all about give and take. It's up to you what you want to do. We're running this in a Maul with Nirnhoned Enchantment and a double dot poison. We're running double dot poison because enchantments have let me down this patch. I don't feel like enchantments are really in the PvP meta right now, so poisons are back in. We're going to be using a double dot one so we can just wear down the enemy's health without even having to try that hard. And we're using a maul because mauls can actually ignore 20% of the enemy's resistances. So if they're running full heavy armor, they've got 30k resistances each, you can ignore 20% of that instantly without having any physical pen on you. But this build does have physical pen, and you will see where I use it very shortly. On the back bar, we're using the Master's Perfected Bow with a Disease Damage Enchant and Charged. Now Charged will increase the chance for me to apply status effects using my bow. I am running Poison Inject, obviously. For those of you who know what Perfected Caustic Arrow set does, it adds 330 weapon damage to targets affected by your Poison Arrow. So if you're running this, as well as putting in a Poison Arrow, putting in the Poison will put the Poison status effect on them, and if the enchantment does proc, you will have a chance to put on Major Defile onto them. Oh no, I do apologise, Minor Defile, ever since the nerf to status effects. So having this on is just a nice passive effect that you can have while just peppering the enemy. You'll be able to wear down the resistances and the healing they receive just from using your main abilities that you're using in your main rotation. For our head, we're running One Piece Doma House. Now Doma House, for those of you who aren't aware, this is from the Bloodroot Forge veteran dungeon. It adds, on the one piece, it adds maximum stamina and maximum magicka. I'm running this in Impenetrable, and I'm running a max stam enchant on it. This is in medium. Now, for those of you who aren't new to PvP, who are veterans, you'll know that I'm obviously running Eternal Vigor. To get those stats, to get those recoveries, you need to be running Eternal Vigor. There is no substitute for it. I've tried, I've looked. Eternal Vigor is just going to stay in the meta for a very long time until ZeniMax does something about it. So if you can't beat the Stamina Dragon Knights and anybody else who's running it like a meta monkey, you may as well join them. We're running this in Infused with a multi-effect enchantment on there to increase all of our resource pools. What Eternal Vigor does is it adds mag recovery, adds stam recovery, adds health recovery, and on the 5-piece adds max health, and adds 337 max stam and magicka recovery while your health is above 50%. It also adds 1011 health recovery while your health is 50% or less. So you've got that yin and yang effect there. When you're below 50% health, you'll be really tanky because your health recovery will be so high, you'll be just healing back all the damage that the enemy does to you. And the healing on this build is insane, as you'll see very, very shortly. For the shoulder piece, we're just running One Piece Clever Alchemist to complete our 5-piece. I think you all know where I'm going with this. If not, then you're going to be surprised. On the girdle, we're running Eternal Vigor, max stam with divines. Gauntlets, we're running Impen and max stam, Eternal Vigor. We're running the Greaves of Eternal Vigor with Tri-Stat and Infused. So on the chest and legs, we want Infused with Tri-Stats because it just means that we get those extra little bit of resources. And we're running the Sabatons of Eternal Vigor with divines and maximum stamina. Now onto the jewellery. You can probably already see it now. We're running an Infused Clever Alchemist necklace with a weapon damage enchant on there. We're running another Clever Alchemist ring, but with Bloodthirsty and weapon damage enchant. Now I will explain why Bloodthirsty in a second after I've explained the Ring of the Pale Order. Now the Ring of the Pale Order was just added in the Markarth patch. It is a brand new mythic that you can find from 5 different pieces. I personally on Xbox have only found 3 of these pieces yet. It still eludes me, but thankfully on PTS I'm able to mess around with this. You can actually find all the locations for this mythic item if you go onto websites such as Outcast or any other guides like Duffy.net. So this ring, it's brand new, and not to mention just the icon of it actually looks quite nice. Just to look at it in the inventory looks very, very nice. I just wish you could actually see these things on your character's hands. That'd be very nice if you could just place them down there. What this does is it restores 19% of the damage you deal as health, up to a maximum of 2.7k health per attack. You cannot be healed by anyone but yourself. Now the healing, from as I'm aware, is actually halved in PvP, however the cap is not halved. So you can, no matter how hard you hit, you will always be able to hit that cap of 2750. However, if you hit it in PvE, if you were able to get a 2750 heal in PvE, you'd only get a 1375, please forgive my maths, 1375 heal with the same attack if you did the same amount of damage. However, the harder you hit, the more you'll be able to recover. So it's really all about how hard you hit, the more you heal. You can just hit them with little tickle attacks and it will still heal you. You'll be healed for about 50, maybe 25 points. And now if we have a look at Bloodthirsty, I mentioned earlier that we're running 2 pieces of Bloodthirsty, and here's why. Ever since the reworking Greymore that made it so that Bloodthirsty increases your weapon and spell damage to enemies under 90% health by up to 350 weapon damage. If you run this on 2 pieces of 2 jewelry, you'll be getting an extra 700 weapon and spell damage to enemies under 25% health, because that's when the scaling ends. It goes to 25% health and then your weapon damage is just madly increased by the 300 to 350 scale. So as the enemies get lower health, your bursts in theory become so much stronger, because every other ability you're doing as you reduce their health is only stronger than the previous one. It's brilliant. Now I would run infused, but if you think about it, you're only getting an extra 60% weapon damage from your infused glyphs. But what's the point in that when you can have an extra 700 weapon and spell damage? It makes sense. I'm running 1 infused just to be safe, because an extra 1050 weapon and spell damage is a bit overkill, but running 2 pieces of Bloodthirsty in PvP is a very valid option, and if you farm for the Ring of the Pale Order, it automatically comes in Bloodthirsty itself, so you don't need to transmute it. You can just keep it the way it is. This is not really an expensive setup. Yes, the craftable jewelry is a bit dodgy, however you can just swap this out for Eternal Vigor jewelry and run 2 more pieces of Clever Alchemist on the body. It's very flexible, this build. You can even swap it all out for medium armor and still run Eternal Vigor and the Clever Alchemist. It's a very, very nice build indeed. Now let's move on to the skills, as I know you're all very eager to see. Running Surprise Attack, obviously this is the main spammable for all Stamina Nightblades. What it does is when you hit them, if you hit them from the flank, it stuns them and reduces their physical resistance by 5%. So not only are you getting the 20% from the maul, but you're also getting the 5% from this. You can basically remove all resistances. Any builds that say, oh yeah, I've got max resistances, this Nightblade can cut through all of it. It's brilliant, and you don't need it at all. You do not need to have really high pen, because you get them in all of your Nightblade abilities. It's brilliant. Plus, a nice little bonus. In the shadow, you can actually see that this shadow barrier passive, casting a shadow ability grants you major resolve for 6 seconds. This is increased per piece of heavy armor you have. You're getting an extra 6k physical and spell resistance by slashing away at the enemy. This main spammable is brilliant, and it ties in very nicely with everything else. We're running Rally because Rally is our main major brutality source and is a very, very nasty heal, as well as increasing our stamina recovery by 20%. We got Relentless Focus, obviously, because this reduces the damage we take, and on the 5 stacks we can just dish out a huge burst of damage. This ability is insane, and if you don't see a Nightblade with it, they're not playing Nightblade right. We're running Dark Cloak for our 4th ability. Now Dark Cloak is the morph of the invisibility ability, but what this does is it no longer turns you invisible, but instead grants you minor protection, reducing your damage taken by 5%. You can reduce all damage you take. Now Nightblades are notoriously squishy, but running this means you take less damage and you heal in PvP for 800 health every second, over 8 seconds. This can crit heal to about 1200, so you're getting a nice strong heal just from popping what you would have used to turn invisible. And now on our 5th ability we're running Mirage. Now a lot of players use Mirage, but some of them don't, and I'm here to educate you on why you should use it. Not only does it give you major evasion, reducing your damage from area attacks by 20%, i.e. Templar Jabs, because Templar Jabs count as an AoE ability, you will no longer take as much damage from them. It also gives you minor resolve. Now minor and major resolve do stack, so you're getting 6,000 resistances from just casting your first ability, your main spammable, and you're getting an extra 3,000 for 26 seconds by casting this, which keeps you alive. You're getting an total of 9,000 resistances just from casting 2 abilities. It's insane, and I love it so much. You are so tanky with this build. And on our ultimate for our front bar, we're running Incapacitating Strike. Incapacitating Strike causes enemies to take 20% more damage from your attacks for 6 seconds after you hit them, not to mention the insane amount of damage it does. Now in the past, for those of you OGs who remember the first year of Elder Scrolls Online, back when Incap could hit for about 40k in PvP, you could one-shot everybody. I miss those days. If Zenimax is watching, please bring those days back. You've made Nightblade into a laughing stock of PvP. Please bring it back. If cast with 120 or more ultimate though, the enemy is stunned for 3 seconds, and while slotted you gain Reeve, which restores 100 magicka and stamina when you deal damage with a light or heavy attack to an enemy with a negative effect on them, meaning if you've got a poison dot on them for example, you're getting an extra 100 magicka and stamina just from doing a light attack to them. It's brilliant. Everything in this build synergizes so well. People look at Nightblades and they laugh, they go, ha, that's not going to work. It really does. Now on our back bar, we're going to run backwards here. On our back bar ultimate, we're running Soul Tether. This is just a flex spot. You can run anything you want here. Personally, it doesn't bother me. You could run Time Stop if you want to be a little bit more tanky. However, this is just a bar that we swap to rebuff. We don't really want to be on the defensive on this bar. We're running Spiked Bone Shield. Now, I was looking at this earlier, and people kept on saying to me, oh, Sorks have shields, you can't do anything against them. But why does nobody ever look at Spiked Bone Shield? It gives you a 7.7k damage shield for 6 seconds, the same amount of time that Hardened Ward lasts on a Magicka Sorcerer, and returns 100% of direct damage absorbed back to the enemy. Now this ability does scale off your max health, however, if anybody's doing jabs to you for example, all of that damage is going to be redirected back to them. No matter how strong they are or how weak you are, all the damage they do to you is returned back to them. This ability makes it so that you can use their strengths against them. If you've ever seen the story of David and Goliath, the little guy won somehow. I think that's one of the versions of the story. I remember reading the version of the story that David won because he used the size of the Goliath against him. With this ability, you can be David and you can beat any Goliath. It's brilliant and I really do like this ability. We're running Leeching Strikes on the 4th ability. Now what this does is it heals you in PvP for 800 health every light attack you do and restores 106 stamina every light attack you do for 20 seconds. Plus, when the effect ends, you get an extra 4.2k stamina when it ends. It's basically a stamina version of Rally. Now I know what you're saying, Rally does cost stamina. What I mean is, it doesn't just restore health to you like Rally does. At the end of the effect, it gives you a large burst of stam. Now that is very nice, and you can cancel it early, just like Rally. So if you know how to play your buffs right, you can constantly have a lot of stam. And with our insane amount of stam recovery, you will struggle to run out of stamina. On our 3rd ability, we are running Shadow Image. What this does is it allows you to create an anchor point of such. Not only does it reduce the enemy's damage done by 5%, but it also allows you to teleport back to it. So if you're in Cyrodiil, you want to jump down from a keep, but you also want to get back to your mates as soon as possible, you cast that at the top of it, you jump down, you do a bit of damage, and you recast it and you teleport right back to the top. It's like a yo-yo effect. And it's actually brilliant. Not only does it do a little bit of damage, but it means you can get in and out of situations just like that. It's brilliant, and I really do like this ability. We're running Resolving Vigor, obviously. It has a 14.5k tooltip, however that goes up with all the weapon damage we're going to be having. It's just a nice, strong heal. And of course we're running Poison Injection. Now Poison Injection is the execute variant of Poison Arrow. You could run the Interrupt version, however I prefer Poison Injection purely because it does more damage to enemies below 50% health. You can just constantly pepper them, especially with Bloodthirsty as well. This will do even more damage. You can just churn out the damage to the enemies. It's a really, really nice ability to be using. Now let's move on to the champion points finally. In the tower we're running 30 into Warlord and 5 into Siphoner. 100 into Mooncarth and 50 into and 40 into tumbling, with 25 into Shadow Ward. I know I'm going a bit quickly, but if you need to, just pause the video and give me more minutes watched on my videos. Thank you very much. We're running 30 points into Blessed on the Apprentice, 10 points into Physical Weapon Expert on the Action Arc, along with 60 points into Master at Arms, just to increase our direct damage done, 60 into Precise Strikes, 50 into Piercing, and 60 into Mighty. On the red, in the Steed, we're running 60 into Ironclad, 10 into Spell Shield, 50 into Resistant. In the Lady, we are running 50 Hardy, 50 Elemental Defender, 50 Thick-Skinned, and nothing in the Lord. Now, just quickly, I just want to demonstrate how high your resistances can get. I'm going to pull up onto the screen right now a screenshot of the stats you can get up to. This is me with all of my buffs up, the Clever Alchemist is procced, and both of those combinations that I mentioned before with the Mirage and the Veiled Strike, you can get really high resistances. You are incredibly tanky and you hit so hard. I really do hope you guys enjoy this build. I only ever aim to build you guys gameplay that you can actually enjoy. Nightblades are a personal favourite of mine. I didn't start playing them until about year 3 of Elder Scrolls Online, and I've loved them ever since. Now, if I can just share a bit of that passion with you guys, I think that we can make this channel very successful. Now, just before I finish off the video, I do just want to say that I noticed that 95% of you are not subscribed, and I'm sure you hear every single YouTuber saying this, but I myself am trying to become a YouTuber. So if you are liking the content and you are liking the things I'm throwing out for you, please hit that subscribe button. You don't need to worry about the notification bell or anything. You come and see these videos at your own pace, but clicking that extremely free subscribe button just means that you're supporting me and you're able to just help me know that I'm doing well and that I'm able to push out more content for you guys and give you guys the builds that you all deserve that's not such a meta monkey setup. I know this one's a little bit meta, but if you can't beat them, join them. And that is the end of the video, guys. As you can see here, I'm stood on top of the Stone Eagle Aerie looking out into the distance of Markarth. I can't see anything. The weather's here worse than England. Horrible weather in England, horrible weather in Markarth. If you like the video, please drop a like, drop a subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.